Okay, guys, so I've been sitting here doing some thinking, and the thing that I kept thinking about was back when I was in Nevada, and not too long ago, and over the past, I'd say the past couple months, I kept looking back on, I kept saying, wait a minute, I think this has been going on longer than I originally thought that it had been going on, because I was thinking back when I worked at the Riverside in Laughlin, and how at night, whenever I would get off work, and I was laying in bed, and I would be thinking about James, and whenever I would think about him, for some reason, like this, right here in my neck, around my windpipe, would just start vibrating like crazy. I mean, it was just like this real rigid vibration that would go deep into the tissue. And I couldn't understand why that would start happening like every time I thought about James. But that's what would happen. And I thought, I couldn't think of anything else that it could be. So I thought maybe it was God. Like, I thought, God is trying to tell me something here. And the way that it felt was that, like, it was making me think that he wanted to strangle me. And that if I went back there to the south to be with him, that he would strangle me. That's what it started making me think. Not only that, at the time I was hearing the intense frequencies. I couldn't figure out where they were coming from. Like, I was hearing these intense sounds all the time, and I was, what is that? Are we right next to a power plant, or what is going on? Because I was hearing so much stuff. So I can look back, and I just kept looking back on that for the last couple of months, thinking, wait a minute, did it start that far back? And then I can even trace it back even further than that. He had Verizon cell phone, and he told me to get Verizon cell phone. And he was like, you get a Verizon, I have a Verizon, we'll be able to talk to each other unlimited. So I went on July 4th in 2007, I went and I bought a Verizon cell phone. And I texted him, happy July 4th. And he was really happy, that I got this phone. And so I started texting him a lot. We had a lot of conversations, and that is when they caught on to our relationship. Now I realize about him that it was he who was targeted. He was the one who was targeted, very severely targeted. I'm not the one that's targeted, coming to him and saying, I'm targeted. No, he was targeted, and that's how I got targeted, was by getting involved with him. Now I look back and I can see it, because I remember in 2002, no, I'd say a little later, about 2003, I remember him telling me, us, Melvin and I, Melvin is a roommate of mine that I've had for years, and he told Melvin and I that the government was giving him a lot of crap about his pension because of the fact that he'd been gambling, and they were trying to cut his pension back because of his play, and he had to fight with them he had to go round and round with the government to keep his pension. And his pension is like the salary of a successful person that is working. So he has a nice pension. And so that got threatened at one point. And then after that, 3 years after that, it was the IRS came after him. And it took him like a couple of years to get out of trouble with the IRS because whatever they had going on. So, yeah, they've been coming after him. And not only that, all the problems, the psychological things that have been going on. And, that's been going on the whole time that I've known him. I mean, once I got to know him on a deeper level, a more personal level. Found out a whole lot about psychological things that were going on with him. So, basically, there was some things going on with him even before I got to know him on a personal level. I know that he was going through like a whole lot of stuff, and I cared so much, and I wouldn't let go, of it. I just wouldn't let go of it. I just kept pushing it away, and I was really frightened by, the intensity and everything that I could see with him. So I would just push it away. So I didn't want to, I was afraid to deal with it, just afraid. But I know that he was extremely suicidal. At times I could just see him carrying that burden, and I knew it and I sensed it so much. And then there was also a situation where he was, there was a situation where he was abusing himself so badly, it wasn't even funny, and he would end up in some really bad situations at the end of the month, and, just be torturing himself. And so there were things going on with him, and I really cared a lot about him, and I loved him, but I just kept pushing it all away. And I was frightened. I was really frightened, and I didn't even know why I was so frightened. So then, later on, it all came out, and I got over that part, and I wanted to be with him. And then we got together, and they caught on to our relationship in 2007 because of the cell phones. That when we both had Verizon cell phones, they really caught on to our relationship, and I know that now. And as far as all the volatility that I never could really understand, how can this one person do all this to me that no one else can do to me? And I know now that they are so far up in this. They are so in this relationship, and they are so in between us, and they are right on it, and they are manipulating and mind controlling like crazy when it comes to us. And now I know what all of these outbursts, how volatile we have been together. And I know that they're trying to keep him from having anyone in his life because they've had him under mind control, and they've done all kinds of things with him. I realize this now. I look back and I realize how that thing in the neck was started and how I didn't understand it. And then he was also telling me things like he was afraid to come out to Nevada. I'm thinking, they're making me think he's going to strangle me. And then he's telling me things like he was afraid to come out to Nevada. He's like, I'm afraid to come out there to Nevada because if I do, I might they might find you out in the desert, hung up somewhere after I come out there. And he'd say things like that to me. Then he goes and he builds his house, and he tells me that he built the house with me in mind, blah, blah, and if I was there, blah, blah, how wonderful it would be, blah, blah, and how he doesn't live in sin, that he, would rather marry than live in sin, and how he takes care of his wives, and blah, 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 and all that. And, I wanted to marry him. I already had told him I wanted to marry him. So, and he started talking about that. The next thing, he would start talking about, well, when you come, don't worry, I'm going to abuse you as much as possible, and I'm going to bury your bones in the backyard. I mean, he would say things like that. And I would be like, okay. So where's that coming from? Why are you saying things like that? So basically, it's been like that. And then there were times that, I felt like I was just going to go there. If anything happened, if anything came between us, you know, that I would just absolutely kill him. Like, I'm going to kill him if anything comes between us. And so I was having some things going on too. And I'm thinking, you know, and I even called him up one time. First of all, he called me, I called him, and I left him a message. And he called me back with this really arrogant, arrogant message. Like, he said to me, I am out of town right now, and when I get back from being out of town, I will call you then, and you will wait until I call you, and all this kind of stuff. I called him up, and I was so furious. Like, I started saying things to him that I would never say to anybody. Like, I was telling him, he had told me about Asian women in the past. Like, he would tell me a lot about Asian woman this and Asian woman that. And then I also, I don't know why I got this thought in my head that he was like a pedophile, that he was like a homosexual pedophile. I even wrote him letters like, you're just nothing but a homosexual pedophile. You know, I mean, this is the kind of stuff that's been going on. And, you know, you don't even know where this stuff is coming from. You know, that's what's been so wild, all the volatility and all the thoughts and ideas that have just come bursting out. Like, you know, you don't even know, like, why you said that, you know, or what you're basing that on. And I know that I did call him up, and I was like, I don't care if you F every Asian woman in the world, and I don't care if you F every little boy in the world, you know, blah, 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 and things like that. And then afterwards you're going, God, I can't even believe that. I don't make phone calls like that. You know, I don't say things like that. What is going on here? So that's how it's been. It's been absolutely bizarre. It's been, you know, just things that just busting out of you and going from 0 to 90 in, you know, 10 seconds and stuff like that. So, you know, I understand now that they have been there. First of all, he was targeted. He must have been targeted like well before I actually met him. And so now I'm realizing that he was the one who's been targeted all along. And that when I got involved with him, and whenever it came to that part where I got a cell phone, he said, get the Verizon cell phone. I got a Verizon cell phone. We started texting each other. That's when they caught on to our relationship. And that is when, it wasn't long after that, they started the thing on my neck. When I was actually in Nevada, working in Nevada, they started that thing on my neck, making me feel like that he was going to strangle me. So, you know, and I was thinking, is it God? I was thinking, I can't imagine where this sensation was coming from. Like, how, you know, this must be God or something, you know, because I'm getting like this vibration in my neck, and what is it telling me, you know, that was warning me that he's going to strangle me, you know, and then he's over here giving me death threats, you know, in between telling me other things like how he built a house with me in mind and that he wants me to be there with him, and, you know, how he treats his wives and blah, blah, blah. And then other times he's telling me he's going to bury my bones in the backyard, or he can't come out to Nevada and thinks that they're going to find me hung up in the desert somewhere if he comes out there, you know, stuff like that. And then I'm ready to go and just kill him at, you know, wherever he is, you know. I'll find him and kill him or whatever, but, you know, it just, things like that just came and went, you know, basically. It was just like, you know, you're thinking, you know, what kind of thoughts are these and where are they coming from? That everything would be that volatile. You know, it just doesn't even make any sense. And so I'm starting to figure out now that he actually is the one who is targeted for so long. No, they do not want me talking to him because of all the stuff that I learned. And he doesn't know anything about it because he doesn't have a computer. And he spends all his time playing around in casinos. And so, in not having a computer and spending all his time preoccupied, he does not know what they've been doing to him. And, you know, this is what it's all about. I'm realizing it now. This is what the whole thing, all the bizarre stuff has been about. You know, so yeah, they're keeping us apart as much as they can right now. I can see that, and you know, I think they have a lot to do with all of this. So, you know, I want that chance to get to talk to him and give him more information. We were sitting when he said he was targeted. He said he was nuked. And I laughed because I thought he was joking. Now I realize that he probably, just the fact that I made him more aware, he probably is getting a lot more aware of what's going on too. And just from a little bit of information that I've given him. And I think that he's going through something with that. So, you know, when it all boils down to it, is if we both know what's going on and what they're doing, then maybe we can possibly get on top of it, because you know, we can maybe get on top of it and get it straightened out if we both realize that, you know, they are doing all this mind control. Because another thing he said to me, which was last night, he said he was talking about this pocket knife. And he was like telling me about the pocket knife, describing it to me. And he's like, yeah, that's the knife I would like to carve your heart out with. And I go, oh. I go, is that what they're telling you to do now? And he goes, yeah. So, you know, like I told him, he's been saying these bizarre things for a long time, and like I told him about 3 or 4 days ago, I told him, I go, after everything that I've been through, since I saw you last, I go, I want you to know that I'm not afraid anymore of what will happen between us, you know. And so I think that really had a big effect on him, that I told him that. And he goes, and he said, you know, he starts smiling, and he goes, I really like the way that you said that. But, yeah, that's what's happening. And I realize it now. I realize that, you know, because they're going after veterans, and he is a veteran, and he has quite a large pension. And so he would be one of their prime targets. And I probably became targeted because I got involved with him. So can pretty much get it all figured out now. And they definitely don't want this going down, that he gets informed. You know, these guys, you know, they're operating out there on the outskirts of this whole thing. And there's a huge liability involved with this. There's a huge liability. Because, you know, unless somebody died and made them God, there's a huge liability. And that I know of, nobody died and made them God. So the bottom line is that there's a huge liability here. And that's, you know, that's what they don't want people educated, and they do not want people finding out the truth and being able to, you know, assess that liability and, you know, and to formulate the ideas that lead to legislation and liability regarding these issues. And that is exactly what needs to take place. Education and legislation, liability needs to take place. And that's the end of it. So I'll keep you guys posted. I'm going to try to get through to him. And I think that things will make a lot more sense to him as well, because he's probably been wondering, you know, like the what, when, why, how, you know. I'm sure he's been confused by the whole thing too. So that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that this has a lot to do with them. A lot to do with them. So I'll let you guys know what happens.